Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. It is Tanktoberfest time, and I'm revealing the first game I'll be doing this month for Tanktoberfest 2024. It is from Avalanche Press. It is a Panzer Grenadier game, and it is an Army at Dawn. This is designed by Mike Perryman, and as I mentioned, published by Avalanche Press. And what this one is basically the war in Tunisia. So it focuses on the U.S. Army. That would be the Army at Dawn, first battle for them in the North African theater, but just generally the first battle they fought against German forces. So what I wanted to do is just do kind of a first look and take a look at the components of the game, because Avalanche Press has kind of shifted away from boxed games, so now everything comes in a bag, but that does not mean the components aren't good. So I wanted to kind of take a look at this, and I also have one of the expansions for it, and this is the Big Red One, which, as you might expect, deals with the 1st Infantry Division during the North African campaign. So this one probably won't be one that will be shown here in this upcoming playthrough from an Army at Dawn, because it's Tanktoberfest, and that means I want tank-heavy games or tank-heavy scenarios, let's say. So let's open up the bag and we'll take a look at what comes in this bag. Instead of what you would get in a box, it's the same stuff, but it's in a bag. That's the only real difference. Okay, so what we have here is, this is the book, right? So you can see it's bound. It's not flimsy. The quality of the paper is pretty good. The cover's nice. And you have your introduction here. And then special rules. Every Panzer Grenadier game will have special rules. Actually, before we get into this, let's look at down here. We've got, try and reorganize this a little bit. So this is the 4th edition rules, which you get whenever you buy a Panzer Grenadier game. Now, if you buy an expansion, it won't have the rules, but if you buy a core game, then you'll get rules. And I've shown the rules in other, I've done several Panzer Grenadier games, as well as Infantry Attacks, which is the World War I version of it. And so I won't go overly much into talking about the rules. But this is the 4th edition. Been around since 2014, I guess, in the 4th edition. That's what that would indicate at the bottom there. So not Avalanche Press, although that's been around a while too, but Panzer Grenadier has been around for a decent length of time, so it's not really a surprise that it would be up to its 4th edition of rules. So you get, the introduction goes through the basic concepts of the game. The game is not overly complicated. You might look at this rule book, which weighs in at about 40 pages, and say, oh, this is a lot of rules or whatever. There really aren't. You have a few pages of optional rules, and then there's a lot of things like, the example here right in the middle of the book about the line of sight. So you have some graphics here, obviously, and then you have a bunch of examples here on this table. So you get a decent explanation of stuff. It's not just wall of text everywhere, although there is plenty of text, of course. But the point is, I think that the rules are maybe long, but they're not complicated. This is not a hard system to learn. So that's all I'm going to say about the rules, because as I said, I've done other Panzer Grenadier games. If you're interested in seeing more about the rules, check out Fire on the Steppe, which I did. I did an unboxing or first look at that as well, and I talked about the rules. There's also some gameplay videos as well of that game. So back to this one. So you do have your introduction. So this would be in November of 42. This would be Operation Torch, right? The invasion of the western end of North Africa through Morocco and Algeria. And it ended up in Tunisia, and that's where they kicked the Axis out of Africa. So you've got some special rules. Every game would have its own special rules to handle the differences in theater and so on, as well as ordnance and armament and the different nationalities, etc. Get a nice little chart here of showing you what the different ranks are between the US and British, and then the Germans, the Italians, and the French. Then you have the chapters. So the chapters are what are the scenarios, right? So I won't go overly much into covering everything that's in here. We will be playing some of these. So you will be fighting, it says fighting the French, right? Because you did have Vichy France forces in their colonies, and they were technically allied with the Germans. So then you have the fighting French, Hard Knocks, and you see there's plenty of scenarios in here. The learning curve, Olseltia Valley, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but this is in January of 1943. There are 16 plus a battle game. Rough Start. So there are a ton of scenarios in here. Combat Command D, and you'll always get the layout of the maps that come with the game, which we'll see in a little bit. Combat Command D, Spring Breeze, Kasserine Pass. So there you go. That's obviously a famous one. And it goes all the way up through Task Force Benson, and you get a total of 40 scenarios plus some battle games, 10 battle games. So as you get with most games, you get player aid cards. We have our assault chart here with a lot of descriptions as well. On the flip side, you have the bombardment chart. This is all pretty straightforward, and we'll see it in action when I play the game, which is going to be soon. Then we have the anti-tank fire table. Flip side of that is your direct fire table, or chart if you would prefer. Here's our TEC. Now the TEC for this game is in a fold-out, so you get it kind of in a 2-page format here, plus the back. So it's basically like 4 pages, but your basic chart is here, and then you've got a couple more pages. The only ding I would give this is that it doesn't show you the terrain. I like terrain effect charts that actually give you an example of what the terrain looks like, but that's not really a big deal in my opinion. Here's our turn record. The turns go by time in 15-minute increments. So you can see 0600 here, goes all the way around to 1745. And then in the gray at the bottom, it continues to go so it's full 24 hours. So these would be your dark half, I guess, essentially 6 p.m., 1800 hours, all the way through to 0545. So you can go all the way around. That, of course, is single-sided. Now you've got some markers. So these are the markers that you will use to play the game. If you have not seen them before, these are your moved and fired markers. You can see they've got various armored vehicles on them. Then we've got disrupted on this side, and you've got some mines and wire. The game turn marker, of course, if you flip it over, there are things on the back as well, as you would expect. You have demoralized, dug in, spotted, entrenchment, illumination, disruption, wrecks, etc., and some number markers, decoys with the duck on it. I always thought that was amusing. So these are your markers. You get 1 sheet of those. Then we get our 2 counter sheets. So the green, as you may expect, would be the American forces. So you can see up here, it says Panzer Grenadier, Army at Dawn. Now you can't really tell by feel. These are kind of matte, but they're very smooth. In the newsletter that Avalanche Press sends out, they always refer to them as silky smooth, and they really are. They really are very nice feeling counters. They don't punch out super easy. That's, but they're not flimsy either. This is sturdy cardstock here. So we do have American units. So here we have, of course, rifle platoons. This is a platoon level game. We have some rifle platoons here, and I'll go into what all the ratings and everything mean. And you've got some guns, right? You got anti-tank guns here. You got heavy machine guns. So you got some support units as well. And of course, down here you have some tanks. So we have the Sherman, and the T-30, right? Yep, T-30. The M3-105, so that's like a personnel carrier, right? Then over here at the top, you have some more American units. Stuart, of course, the light tank. Then these are our leaders. So you've got everything from a lieutenant colonel down to lieutenants. We've got some P-40s and a P-38. And we've got a couple of, I think these would be French units, maybe. And yes, these would be French based on the commandant, capitaine, sous-lieutenant, etc. Wadi for the terrain. And then down here you've got some of, at that time, and again now I guess, now that the Queen is gone, His Majesty's forces, the British Army, rifle squads, or rifle platoons rather, some trucks, some Crusaders and Valentine, and then their officers, and then got some Italian aircraft here at the bottom. Speaking of the Italians, they're on this counter sheet, so you've got their officers, and they actually print it out in with the ranks in the native tongue. So you have Capitan, Capitano, I guess, Tenente, which I think is lieutenant, Sargento, Maggiore, probably a major, I'm guessing. But they've got their own trucks. They've got some 75 millimeter guns, 47 millimeter guns. They've got their heavy machine guns, their Burrs machine guns, some engineers, anti-tank rifle, 81 millimeter mortars, and then our infantry platoons as well. And then they've got some tanks as well, the M1441, which we will see many times this month's Tanktoberfest, or this year's edition of Tanktoberfest, because we will be featuring North Africa throughout the month. So you will be seeing these Italian M1441s in several different games. And we have some German, some Luftwaffe, some paratroopers, Fallschirmjägers, and their officers as well. And then some regular German, some Wehrmacht here. And here we have, again, more German forces, infantry squads with their support, some mortars, some engineers, some machine guns, etc. 20 millimeter, 28 millimeter motorcycle troops. Panzer IIIs in various varieties. These are Js, Hs. Panzer IV F2s. The Tiger. Panzer IIIN. Then you've got some 231s, some 233s. Grilla. Got mortars, some Stugs, Panzer II. And then we got some guns. 50, 75. There's the famous 88. 25 pounder, probably a captured British gun, I would guess. Some trucks. And the ranks again. The officers. Officers, leaders, they are important in this system if you have not seen it before. Now let's look at the maps. We have four, I believe, four maps here. They are all numbered. So just like most tactical systems, the maps are numbered so that you can mix and match. And the more of the game you have, the more of the system you have, the more mix and match possibilities you have. So this is pretty standard fare. Obviously, it is desert terrain, so a lot of muted greens with some browns and tans, etc. Elevation lines. The maps are always easy to figure out in general. You've got some rough terrain here. You can always kind of at a glance, you can typically tell what it is. So when I was talking about the terrain effects chart, and that it's not always, I prefer to have an example. Like here, you can pretty easily figure out what everything is. And you do have a track here, a road, a path, however you want to call it, probably not a paved road. Then we have map 76 here, which again has some elevated areas. This is a lot of elevation actually on this. The bottom half is like one big hill. I don't know if it qualifies as a mountain, but it does have 3 levels here of elevation. And we have number 79, which not only has another hill, a couple hills at the top, but also some town here and a couple more hills at the bottom. These are single-sided, by the way. They're not double-sided. Some games give you double-sided. This one does not. And then we have map number 77. So because this game is based in the western part of North Africa, it's a little bit different than what we'll see in the other games, which I will not reveal just yet. But those are more of your traditional, maybe Eastern Desert, Libya, Egypt, and some Tunisia. This is, obviously Kasserine Pass was a mountainous region, so you would expect that, the fight through that area would fit that kind of terrain. So this is very much in that vein. You can see all the elevation. So you get a lot of good area here if you're on the defense, I suppose, to set up guns on some of these hills. The tanks would most likely be trying to travel down the path. Here on the road, easier terrain effect. The terrain movement cost is much lower when you stay on the road, so therefore it's easier to get where you're going on a road more quickly, and so you have possibilities to shoot right at them. So that is that, as they say. I guess I will show you Big Red 1 really quickly. There's not a ton to it. It's a scenario book, essentially. But we'll take a quick peek. So here's Big Red 1. So this is a campaign study with 11 scenarios based on the actions of the American 1st Infantry Division during the Tunisian campaign. 3 chapters, each with a battle game to link the scenarios together. You'll need an Army at Dawn and only an Army at Dawn to play all of the scenarios. So this is a new one. This came out in 2024, so it's new. It's got some special rules, right? But then you have, Mike Benninghoff he's a PhD in history, so he knows. He always provides a lot of historical context, which I really, really like. So you have some info there. And then it starts with chapter 11, and Army at Dawn ends at 10. So you get chapter 11, and this is all going to involve the 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red 1, in various things, taking on in this one elements of the 10th Panzer Division, an evening on Hill 336, and you can see it uses the same map, 76, 7, and 8 in this case, 76 and 78 in that one. Jebel El Maheltat is chapter 12. And again, you get 11 scenarios in total in here. And the battle game ties it all together. And battle game 13, the heights of Jebel Tahent. All right, so there you have it. Quick look at the Big Red 1 and a much, longer look at its parent game, I guess you could say, an Army at Dawn. There will be a playthrough on this one very, very soon. I will get around to playing the Big Red 1 at some point. So that's possible video fodder as well. We'll see how things go. I'm going to play it regardless, but like I said, we'll see. So that's going to do it for now. Thanks for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. If you have something to say, feel free to say it. But yeah, that's it for this one. So look forward to the playthrough. It's coming soon. But for now, that's it. We're done. I'm Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel. And until next time, as always, I wish you happy gaming.